Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 414, being recorded on August 24th, 2016. I'm Ryan Shroud.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Malventano.
You didn't do the pattern. You didn't follow the pattern. Everybody else went in the pattern.
I gotta be different.
No one expected
Alan's
him
part
to.
of the No Fun League.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
So I'm back.
From outer space?
Yeah.
No, where's all the clapping and shit? Come on.
Well, I got
You have the clap. You brought it back yourself.
It was QuakeCon.
I'm here for at least to this week and probably next week. So there's that.
All right.
I'll be here next week too.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Welcome to the show, everybody. Sorry I was gone. 3 weeks of travel. And did I miss all 3 weeks of the show? I did.
No,
we did
two.
QuakeCon.
Yeah.
Because it was at QuakeCon. And then I was in England. And then San Francisco.
San Francisco.
For IDF. I was watching Zen be demoed. That's what it was. And that's obviously one of our key topics for tonight's show. Before we get into all that, I want to make sure to remind everybody we do record the show so that you can listen to it later. And then we stream that recording live on the internet at pcper.com/live. It's a great website, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday nights. If you go to pcper.com/subscribe, you get, you get a page that looks something like this. Does it look like that? No, it doesn't look like that? What does it look like now? It looks like that. And you ask for your name and your email address, and we send you little notifications to say, hey, in a couple hours, we're going to be doing a live stream. And it could be for our podcast. It could be for the late podcast we did at QuakeCon. It could be for other events like we had Ed from Sapphire out a few weeks ago as well. So there's always stuff going on. So it's important that you sign up for that mailing list and pay attention. And also very important that you pay attention is this to our Patreon page here at patreon.com/PCPer. You can go there if you want to directly support us, if you think the content we do is interesting, whether it be Zen architecture stuff, storage testing, graphics card reviews, this podcast, anything like that, then this is your capability to directly contribute to us, especially to say, hey, I like what you're doing, do more of that, thumbs up, that type of thing. It is a recurring monthly contribution. I want to make sure I iterate that because I've had a couple people email and say, hey, I thought it was a one-time thing. It is a monthly recurring thing. So if you make it $100, it's going to charge you $100 the next month too. So if you don't want it to be that, obviously adjust your contribution level. We're up to 408 patrons, up to $2,307 per month. And as we normally do with the show, when I'm here at least, anybody who increases their Patreon contribution or is a new Patreon contributor, I will read your name on the stream and whatever else you happen to put into that field during the show. So
It's just like the Ryan Hotline. They give you money and you say things directly.
That's right. Yes, it is like
voice on the show.
It's like the 1 a.m. Commercials you see on TV for live links.
So you email 1-900-SHROUD?
1-900. Yeah, I can set up a 900 number email on pcper.com if we want to do that. That'll be for the mailbag, MALE bag. That we'll set up eventually. I do have plans to do that, even if we never hit the $3,000 milestone. When we get to this new office and we have the new space, right, and we're bringing up a new editor, right, then we'll have some more bandwidth and we can make Josh answer email questions on a weekly basis. I'll help too. So again, thanks everybody who contributes to that. And we did get, let's see, we've already gotten two here. Sela Yardi pledged $10.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And David Franklin pledged $20.
Sweet.
Per month. So those are kick-ass contributions. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you guys.
If you update or submit, I'll read your name off of my phone. Whatever that happens to be. I think there's only been one I have refused to say out loud.
If you update or submit, you must acquit.
I don't know if that's how that works. No. But so let's get to the big news of the week, everybody. This is AMD Zen. This has been it's already been a long development process for this, right?
Only 4 years.
But it feels like we've been talking about it for 4 years as well.
That's strange because that's when they started developing it.
Well, it's like as soon as people realized that Bulldozer wasn't great, right? You know, that like that's when they started to fall behind. You started to hear rumblings about Zen and what it might do and what it might not do. And I believe, and you can correct me on this, Josh, if I'm mistaken.
You're wrong.
It was originally a much earlier release than where we're at now, right?
No, what? What?
Like it was supposed to have been a 2015 product. No?
Sort of, maybe.
There was
riveting.
Smoke coming out of the ears.
Yeah,
A
it was
few
a lot
seconds.
of-
No,
gears
it's hard
moving.
to say because I mean, certainly they had plans and that, and
Sure.
maybe it could have been late 2015. But I think that they figured, like lawn darts, you either get hit in the head and die, or you make 2016.
But they probably weren't aiming for 2017.
They probably were not aiming
Probably
for
not.
2017.
Probably not. So a couple of interesting things happen, and I'll talk about the part that I got to see first, and we'll talk to the part that Josh wrote about. At Intel Developer Forum, where I was at last week, AMD has traditionally had a presence there. They set up at the St. Francis or St. Regis.
That's a nice hotel.
St. Regis Hotel in the presidential suite upstairs. They take up the whole upstairs and they do demos or something of whatever they're showing. And I'll be honest with you, most of the time it's really bad.
Yep.
Like most of the time they're showing you, here's our notebooks that are coming out with our APUs. And I'm like, nobody's going to buy those, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be an ass. It's just like, okay, you can't compete with Intel on Ultrabook style thin and lights right now. Sorry about your luck.
My favorite part of this story, and I'm bunting in here.
Yes, you are.
Bunting, is that like 3 hours before the AMD thing, you're like, do I want to go to this AMD thing? It's just going to be more of the same. They're not going to show
Yeah.
us anything interesting.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Well,
They surprised everybody.
They surprised all of us. It wasn't until like half hour, 40 minutes beforehand that I kind of got the idea of what they were showing with Zen stuff, and it was really tipped off because I saw a Yeti tumbler with the Zen logo on it. Was our takeaway gift from the event, right? So it was a key moment there for me. So what they did was they talked about Zen. Was that at CES? No, Computex. They talked a little bit about it. They revealed like the circular paint logo and
Yeah, it was running this video and
Yeah.
doing it successfully.
right. It was.
Yeah.
We have silicon. It's up and running, and it can play back a video. And while that's an important milestone for any product,
And there was much rejoicing.
it's not something we would generally celebrate or talk about in great detail. But what they did here is a little bit different. So they brought Mark Papermaster up, who's the CTO at AMD, and he gave you a high-level overview of what some of the changes were to the architecture. And they reiterated this claim of a 40% increase in IPC compared to previous architecture.
That's a pretty significant jump.
It's a huge jump. Remember that, like Sandy Bridge to Ivy Bridge, you're talking 2 to 5% IPC.
Right.
Well,
Intel saw a big IPC jump, but that was when like the core thing happened.
correct. When we went from P4 to
Yeah.
Core.
Yeah.
To Core 2.
Yeah.
Which was a while ago.
So is 40% from
2005,
bulldozer
2006.
or the bulldozer derivatives?
Excavator. It's 40%
Okay,
over
cool.
Excavator.
Okay.
At the same energy per cycle. So,
Okay.
And they did this, and in some ways that Josh will walk through when he gets into his architecture stuff. They talked a little bit about the execution core changes. These cores have SMP now. They changed their memory hierarchy somewhat. They now have an L3 cache, an 8 megs of L3 cache.
So
they've had L3 for a long time, but
What is
they-
it, just a bandwidth? They're talking about 5x cache bandwidth
Oh
improvements.
yeah, they've done not 5x. Well, if you start thinking about things, but essentially they've doubled bandwidth in between a lot of different caches.
Okay.
So maybe they said 5 times. I don't know.
So
but
I'll let Josh talk about that in the next little section. But what they did here was they said, okay, we're going to show you a demo of Summit Ridge. Summit Ridge is the name of the platform for the high-end consumer version of this product. It will be the first product they release, actually. It's not going to be in notebooks first. It's going to be in servers first. It's going to be this product, an 8-core, 16 threads, AM4 platform that is not, by the way...
Right, so they're still on AM4.
No, AM4 is a new one that's just starting to come out for like APUs.
Okay.
But those motherboards will not be compatible with this processor.
Different chipset.
From my understanding.
Okay.
This will be a new chipset.
So revised
but it's the
chipset.
same socket, essentially.
Okay.
DDR4 memory, PCIe Gen 3, and what they call Next Gen IO, which I hope will mean USB 3.1, NVMe.
Better SATA performance with RAID and stuff like that,
yeah,
maybe?
well...
I know it's a little late, but...
as long as they have NVMe, whatever.
Yeah.
And we'll see what they do about Thunderbolt and stuff.
Probably nothing.
I mean, if ASUS wants to buy a Thunderbolt chip and put it on the board, that may be...
If Intel lets them.
Yeah, I think they will. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what they did was they did a performance comparison of sorts, comparing an 8-core 16-thread Zen processor against an 8-core 16-thread Broadwell E. Broadwell E is the newest enthusiast architecture from Intel. They clocked both of these processors at 3 gigahertz, so that's important to note. That's lower clock than the Broadwell E would normally run at. And AMD has said at this event that they're going to have clock speeds higher than 3 gigahertz as well. And they basically did a run through Blender, and they showed a side-by-side of the Zen system and the Broadwell E system, both running at this. And the Zen system finished, a second or two ahead of the Intel system. And what they were trying to show was like, look, in terms of IPC, we are now on par with Broadwell E. We are on par with essentially the best or almost the best platform
for IPC
that Intel can offer.
Which is good. They really needed to catch up there.
And they were way behind there, right?
Yeah.
Now, some controversy has come out about what kind of code path Blender uses. Blender may have a specific code path for AMD that does things a little bit different. I'm not going to get into that. It's
you got to wait for reviews to come out to know.
Or if you use other benchmarks, clearly there's a reason AMD didn't use Cinebench, right? Like the standard thing that all of us can replicate immediately. This is a custom workload, right? That they didn't like hand out on USB sticks, like here, run this for yourself type of thing.
Okay.
They didn't like show a timer or a countdown or a frame rate or anything like that. Like that you'd be able to go home and kind of like self-measure. Okay. Right?
So
and
the usual take the demo with the grain of salt applies.
Yeah. But either way, it's impressive, right? Because no other AMD processor to date would have been able to keep up with this type.
To do 40% better in any benchmark is good. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. They were asked about power consumption. They talked about this processor being on par with similar processors from Intel, which basically means you're looking in the 120 to 140 TDP, 140 watt TDP for the Summit Ridge processor.
Haven't previous AMD processors been higher than that?
Only the 9000 series, the 220. Otherwise, the 8000 series are 125 watts.
Okay.
And I've heard mention that they're looking at 95 watt TDP
for this
with the 8-core.
That would be impressive. That would be impressive.
8-core 16
I would
thread.
kind of almost expect that to be down at the 4-core, 6-core level, because Zen Summit Ridge, maybe not Summit Ridge specifically, but Zen will be released as an 8-core, probably a 6, and probably a 4-core.
Okay.
At different price points. They're going to want to compete against Skylake K parts or Kaby Lake K parts at the time when these come out.
These are still not hyper-threaded?
No, they are. They have SMP.
Oh, SMT.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And I'm going to catch you off right there.
Okay.
Because they're aiming what we think the 4-core, 8-thread APUs will be 65 watt TDP to more adequately compete with Intel at that thermal range. So half of that is GPU, and it's one of the
Wait. Half of what is GPU?
Okay, half of the APU is going to be a GPU, if not a little bit more.
Oh, in the APU version of this. Yes. Okay, sorry, I missed that.
Yes, I mean, if they're aiming for 65 watts, the Zen core in there is going to be pretty stinking efficient. But we don't know what clock speeds, obviously, in that.
One interesting side point is manufacturing. They're going to be made at GlobalFoundries.
Okay.
They basically said it's going to be built on the exact same process technology as Polaris. And they were even specifically asked if they were going to use the high-density transistors that GPUs typically use, but aren't typically used on processors.
Yeah.
And they said, yes, those are the libraries we're using. So I don't know what that means in terms of efficiency or in terms of density or whatever. But it's different than what we've ever seen.
Oh gosh, that's like a 30-minute discussion.
Yeah, I don't want to do it.
So are they just to throw it out there, like I'm trying to figure out the differences like architecturally, but like kind of bigger scale stuff. So previous AMD CPUs had like FPUs shared between cores, right? Is this one doing that?
They had two ALUs per FPU, right?
What?
They had two ALUs per FPU.
Well, no, it's well, they had 2 integer cores per FPU, and
Right.
each integer core had, like 2 ALUs and 2 AGUs,
Gotcha, okay.
shit like that.
So yes,
Right.
they were sharing floating point across their 2 cores.
Yeah.
In Bulldozer and beyond, right?
Yeah,
And that's
each pair
why
of cores
the
had-
designation of core was a little bit questionable, but whatever.
So is this more independent now? Is this?
It is. It
Okay.
is. So now there are 8 independent cores, and now they're using I'm guessing a
Well,
traditional
like-
SMP, SMT implementation like
Wow.
hyperthreading.
So that's definitely way more on par with Intel.
Yeah, and that's a big part of their, IPC improvement as well, is
Yeah.
being able to use SMT to fill these bubbles.
Cool.
So Josh, if you look, we don't have to go through the entire piece of all these different additions here that you wrote up from the Hot Chips presentation. What are kind of the highlights of the architectural changes that are bringing about this 40%?
Okay, as you know, Jim Keller has had his fingers in many, many CPU architectures. He was, gosh, why is my phone going off? Apparently, there is a Chicago, Illinois number that is spamming people, and it's now spamming my work phone.
Okay, great.
But aside from that,
Great, I guess.
Jim Keller, they brought him back to kind of lay the foundations of Zen. He worked very hard. I think it took a toll on his health. If you look at pictures when he started, he was, really kind of buff, and he'd beat you up. And then at the end, you looked at him, and it's like,
I don't
this guy
understand the
hasn't worked
relevance.
out in like a half year.
I don't know why you're
and
bringing this
he's-
up. Like, literally,
Because he looked like Hercules.
you can make the same argument about me. Before I started working with Josh, I was like
you
this
were fit and
very
trim.
in shape,
Yeah.
You're
I-
virile.
young
Yeah.
person.
Yeah,
And now,
I saw that
after
picture you posted from like 8 IDFs ago or
after I
something.
started working with Josh, I became old
Yeah.
and withered.
You could stand on PC cases without them.
I
being
used to be
crushed.
able to, yeah.
Yeah, not anymore. Sad. But I don't know why I'm so washed out today. I've even actually gone out into the sun. But
You
anyway,
have your nice
Jim
beach
Keller.
background.
Can we get to the architecture, please?
Can we just please get to the architecture? So, Jim gave his body and soul to make Zen a good thing. And they have revamped nearly everything. The thing that, the only thing that kind of looks similar to what Bulldozer and Excavator is kind of the FPU.
Okay.
And of course, only one of those were in, a module,
Right.
and it had 2 integer cores in there. But everything else has changed. Cache structure is revamped dramatically. So I think that, they're saying it, twice the bandwidth in L1 and L2 cache. I think the guy was correct in our IRC that it's 5 times the bandwidth to L3 cache only.
Okay. Yeah.
The L3 cache, 8 megs per 4 cores. And what do they call that? It's not a module anymore. I had talked about it.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I see the diagram here on the page, but it doesn't distinguish those.
yeah. Well, you're probably just not reading my stuff ever. And remember,
Who's Josh?
retention is bad. What?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they revamped the cache system. It's significantly faster. They've revamped the front end, and that means they got a 4-wide decode stage, which is a significant upgrade. They now include a micro-op cache, which is really huge. So when instructions get to the decoder, they are converted into micro-ops. But it takes some time to be able to convert instructions to micro-ops. But by having this micro-op, this op cache, if it sees an instruction, instead of decoding that and converting it, it just goes to this cache and says, hey, we've already decoded this. Here's the result. Let's just do that instead of spending the time and work. And so it saves power and it saves time. So it's lower latency in commonly used instructions. And that helps to allow the integer execution and floating point execution units to be better filled, because you've got this 4-wide, which oddly enough is kind of the same size as Intel's latest processors, but it's kind of apples and oranges because they do things differently. Otherwise, Intel would sue AMD out of existence. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's got can do dispatch 6 micro-ops. It's got schedulers for integer and floating point. They've increased the register size. They've increased the number of instructions and ops in flight. It's got like I think 6 or 8. No, it's a 8 instruction retire at the back end. So essentially, all that they have done is to remove as many bottlenecks as possible, having the highest throughput, having caches that I go through because I mean the stuff's complex. I'm not David Cantor. I'm hanging on by my fingernails here.
We can tell.
Yeah. The caches are semi-exclusive, but inclusive, and so you've got some dirty caches running around. It's all very confusing.
Now I'm getting interested. Tell me again about the dirty cache.
Dirty
caches. Dirty caches.
We're still getting some information from AMD about how they're actually implementing all of this stuff. I mean, even at Hot Chips, they talked about it.
They're going to do another big deep dive at supercomputing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's in November, maybe.
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I've never been. But they're going to do another. They're going to do another kind of like dump of information architecturally. So we may know more then. But.
So I mean, the huge L3 cache is any core can access it. I think the L2 caches are private, as well as obviously the L1s, because they can't do a whole lot of snooping into the L1. But they've got these. I'd hate to call them modules. I wish I could remember what the
CPU complex?
Complexes.
Yeah.
They're now complexes. So it's 4 cores.
CCX, by the way, is the abbreviation for it.
Very nice.
According to the DSM-4.
Sounds like a railroad company to me, but
Yeah, it may be. But I don't know if they can actually divide these up. Like if you can have a complex that is 2 cores and 4 megs of L3 cache. I mean, at least with this initial product, they probably can't. It just will probably break all the things because the L3 caches are really, really interconnected. And, the latency from one core to a certain portion of the L3 cache on average is going to be the same across all the L3 caches. So you're improving latency, you're improving bandwidth. They're keeping the execution units as filled as possible. They've implemented their own little SMT
right here.
procedure. And it's probably, technically different from Intel, but the overall concept is the same.
Sure.
It's got different portions that can't be shared at the same time, so you've got to wait different cycles, other things that can be shared. It's just a lot of really interesting work in there to balance out the throughput and keeping all the execution units filled and squashing as many bubbles as possible. They've improved the branch prediction, so you won't have mispredictions in executions that will cause these bubbles to appear and no work to be done per cycle. I mean, all of these things that have come together to make this a much more efficient architecture than we have with Bulldozer and even Excavator, which was, Excavator was 5 to 20%, depending on workload, more efficient in IPC than the original Bulldozer. And that's not even talking power. I mean, we could talk about this stuff for just ages, but essentially, this is a clean sheet design. Yep. AMD went back and said, you know what, we bet on the wrong horse. We thought that we would have massively multi-threaded stuff. We didn't throw IPC to the wayside, but certainly we sacrificed that to have highly multi-threaded products. And it just didn't work out very well. I mean, there, again, hours worth of discussion of where AMD may have gone wrong and the things that they should have done. But by going to this type of design and then working with the foundry as well as their own design to increase clock speed from the 3 gigahertz that we saw at this if they can get 3.5 to 3.8 gigahertz, they're going to have a really solid product on their hands that a lot of people will actually pay for.
All right.
Yeah, and they've got a new chipset coming that was developed by ASMedia. That's kind of interesting. AMD have kind of deep six their own chipset guys, and they're working with ASMedia. So we're going to have all these, next
Storage
generation
okay,
I/O
then.
stuff. What?
Oh wait, no. It's only going to be the interconnect between the chipset and everything else is going to be USB 3.
That one.
Yes.
That's be awesome RAID controller.
They did approach Renaissance, but they
were being French.
So yeah. But
one quick question from the chat.
The potential is here to be a really good chip.
One question from the chat.
What?
One question from the chat.
Sure.
Does the micro ops adoption mean that they will have compiler concerns to deal with? Will they need to depend on compilers to?
No, that's going to be absolutely transparent. Because what compiler does, and correct me if I'm wrong, is do a sequence of instructions that is more optimized for a certain platform.
Yeah,
sure.
Now you could optimize a compiler.
All the decoder is doing is taking these instructions and creating micro-ops. And so when you get just whatever instructions in, I mean,
you could theoretically if you knew if you had knowledge of how the caching worked for the micro ops on AMD side, you could optimize a compiler
to make it work a little bit
faster.
Better.
Yeah, because there's
for whatever micro ops are usually in the op cache.
Yeah, because there's an Intel optimized compiler for and if you use that, it actually does give you pretty decent speed boosts over just using Visual Studio.
Yeah, but I mean that takes a lot of code, and it applies it to SSE3, SSE4, AVX type stuff where it can really crunch that stuff all together. Take one big package of instructions and spit it all out and get a big result afterwards. So you could possibly.
So that's Zen.
Yeah.
That's what we know about Zen now, and they've said this is a Q1 2017 part. Maybe just at the tail end of Q4 2017 for some partners type of thing, but I wouldn't count on it.
They'll launch it.
I feel
I imagine it'll be a February time frame.
This definitely needs to happen, if only to hopefully counter $1,700 CPUs.
Correct.
Yeah.
Pricing will be the other big question mark here.
Those need to come down, and I'm pretty sure this launch will result in.
I hope so. It needs to be competitive. It actually end of day.
Yeah.
When I run Cinebench.
Yeah.
An X264 encode, it needs to be competitive. And then what I hope it doesn't happen is AMD goes, well, how about $1,400?
No.
And I go, damn it, right? And I just throw everything on the ground. I quit. I burn the church. All those things occur.
We need to make our market share back, so $1,500.
That's right. Anyway, so that's Zen. We'll have a lot more on that as the months go by, I'm sure. Like I said, supercomputing conference, whenever that is. Kevin's in the chat. He'll tell me when supercomputing is. We'll get another dump of info. Good job, Josh.
Hey, thanks.
Hey, you're welcome. All right. Other reviews, real quickly. Lee posted a review of the Seasonic Prime 750 watt titanium power supply. We do a lot of individual power supply reviews here. We're one of the only outlets that still does this. I think there's a lot of value in it. I will point out
proper power supply reviews.
Yeah.
How many screws does it have?
Not just it has 4
6.
screws.
It had 6 screws.
Power supply, 4 screws.
2 extra.
Oh, okay.
Spare screws. What's interesting about this is the Prime is apparently Seasonic's first total platform redesign in a decade.
Yep.
Interesting.
And I believe it's also their first digital PWM.
Oh, they're teasing this at CES to us.
Jeremy,
Seasonic already had a very good design in the first place, so that's cool, right? That they're,
Jeremy, was I correct on the first digital PWM?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
And if you jump to the third page, you can also see the other innovation that they've added to this thing.
Oh man, I'm excited
test
now.
filter?
What is it?
It's actually kind of neat. No, well, that's
this
right there with the fancy cable ties. So the
what am I looking at?
Yeah, what's
plus
that?
3 volt, the
Right.
black, which is of course ground.
Uh-huh.
Your plus 5 and your plus 12 now have an extra wire that goes back to the PSU.
Oh, nice.
Tell it what load it's under.
It's remote sense.
It actually monitors the load being drawn actively.
Flows
and
wires
sends back.
It's correcting for voltage drop across the cable, similar to what
sir.
Similar to what your PCIe power connectors do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it's doing it right there between the motherboard and the power supply.
Huh.
That's cool.
Which is kind of a neat thing, and also from Lee's testing, turned out to work very impressively.
Yeah.
To quote the man, and this doesn't come out often, but superior AC ripple noise and noise suppression. He doesn't pull out superior very often. Adequate from Lee is pretty damn good.
He is known for his tabular forms of data.
Yep.
Concise and efficient use of language.
Yep.
And that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So there's your efficiency curve as well.
Well above the platinum level. Mm-hmm. Not quite platinum extreme, but well above platinum.
Is that a real thing? Did you just make that up?
No, it might not be extreme, but there's another one. Oh, sorry, platinum plus.
Not only that, but
No,
titanium plus.
Titanium.
that,
Okay.
it looks like that shift over to more digital on its internals, like just how it is regulating and everything. Like the components are there's just less stuff. Like look at the power supply itself.
Right.
Like internals, there's just not as much stuff in there.
Yep.
Or the components are smaller. There's like the heat sinks there's not even that many heat sinks present. Like,
Lame.
it's just not generating that much heat, which is what you get
it's
with
not.
more digital PWM kind of thing.
Right.
Oh, it's one of the ones that will operate silently until about 40 or 50% load.
Editor's choice
perfect
logo
phone.
here. 10-year warranty.
Yeah,
Editor's
only
choice.
a 10-year warranty. I mean,
Oh,
And it's expensive. It is a titanium like rated power supply, but you can get 650 watts for $160.
yeah.
For one of the best power supplies we've seen, right? Ultra high efficiency, micro tolerance load regulation, which I assume is what that feature for the sense back is for.
Yeah.
Fan control, superior AC ripple, as you said, extended hold up time, gold plated, high current terminals. Ooh, gold. I
The
like
chat's
gold.
asking us like, what's ridiculous about a good PSU? Well, like if you're able to regulate with less ripple, you have like a more solid voltage to your motherboard and to your CPU. Like especially if you're into overclocking, systems become sensitive to that sort of thing. Like if you're just running stock settings
I
and
like
stuff,
that picture.
you're
That does
probably
look very clean.
like if you're just running stock, factory out of the box system, you're probably okay.
That
with-
looks nice.
doesn't it?
yeah, right. Like look at how clean that thing is.
But how much better will it be than the power supply that came with my case?
Well, you paid $48 for the case and power supply combo.
This one is
Yeah.
probably a lot better.
For a 750 watt power supply.
I mean, it's 220
Rated
volts, but I figured if I
750
just
watt.
jam it in, it's
Yeah.
probably fine over
Yeah.
here.
Just
Yeah.
the cleaner the voltage you can get to your motherboard in the first place, the better your chances are for overclocking and better stability in the long
Yep.
run. And
You spend money on all the other components.
Yeah.
Don't cheap out on the thing that delivers power. to
Don't
all of
cheap
it.
it on the thing that can literally kill everything.
And
That's true.
burn down your house.
If the PSU goes nuts, the house burns down and the system's bust, and you're thinking, well, maybe I should have spent that extra $50 on a power supply.
And the other thing to realize is that and we learned this especially from doing all of that GPU power monitoring stuff, is that power switching, like things with switching power supplies, just like all the phases that are on your motherboard for your CPU.
Yep.
That is the worst case thing. I mean, there are things that are just turning on and off. There is no in between. It's not like your motherboard draws this nice steady stream of current
Right.
from the power
But
supply.
I always like my analog power supplies.
Yeah, it's literally just like
it's a light switch rave up in
it
there.
looks like just
It really is. Yeah.
It looks like but it's a light switch rave with 16 switches going at the same time in one room. It's horrendous on a power
I
supply.
might be able to electrically work that out at the new building.
We probably could. Ryan, you grab these 8 switches. I'll grab the other 8 switches.
I do have a piano at the church.
And there is a piano.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. They left one.
Buried the lead.
Amazing.
It's pretty horrible piano.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
right.
It'll be an electric piano soon.
It's an old piano.
It is.
It may be worth a lot of money.
It's very out of
hoping.
tune.
It's not
We'll
worth
see.
a lot of money.
It may be. All right. Before we get into our next article, I do want to mention we've had some Patreon additions.
Awesome.
Ron Wagner edited their pledge. His pledge, I guess. He's probably not a plural person. From $5 to $10. Thank you very much, Ron. Joseph Sandy edited their pledge from $30 to $50.
Awesome.
Wow.
$30 to
That gets a
$50.
lot out of you.
That's too much.
It's a lot of value.
He really liked your AMD coverage, Josh.
It's the
Something
best
like-
value.
Yes.
Charles Anderson edited his pledge from 50 to 5150.
All right.
Just instant, like literally 1 minute later in the email thread here, bumping over Joseph Sandy for an increase there. And then Nick,
Isn't that a Van Halen
Listen.
album?
And hold on.
5150?
They're allowed to get into a bidding war.
they don't
long
get
as
anything
it's-
different for, but yes, they're
That's
absolutely
okay.
allowed to do it.
Totally allowed.
Nick Kearney edited his pledge from $1 to $3.
All right.
And thank you very much, Nick. And then, so we'll move on to the next stories. Thank you guys very much. Sebastian's not on the show. Thank God, right?
This would take an hour
You know what I'm
to go
saying?
over this
That guy.
article.
It's like having another
How do I pronounce
Josh.
the name of this company, Ken? Audeze?
I think so.
Odyssey.
Audeze?
Odyssey.
SINE?
Like Odyssey.
On-ear planar magnetic headphones. I don't know shit about these. I don't know jack all about headphone
Planar
technology.
magnetic is an
Come
interesting
on,
technology
planar's
for.
awesome.
So what? All I know is Sebastian really liked these headphones. So somebody tell me why.
I mean, like a
They
planar
sound very
magnetic
good.
thing is like, imagine that the driver is just like basically completely flat and it's being driven just by like.
Instead of a cone, essentially.
Yeah.
I have a flat piece of paper.
Yeah, you just have a thing that moves.
Sure,
it's
but why do I
thinner
care
than
about that?
Yeah, but why does that matter? Is it just allow you to make the headphones lower profile? Type
It's just
thing?
better sound.
It's better than a cone. I would have thought like
Like the
you
reason
had to make a sacrifice
the
for
reason
a flat.
the cone is a sacrifice.
The cone is a sacrifice.
The cone is a structural
the
That
cone
was
sacrifice.
a lie.
Yeah, because you're trying to make a thing that you push and pull from one point in the past.
Yeah.
Well, that if the point's in the center, you need to add some like z-axis.
Right. Yep.
For structural, like otherwise it'd be flopping like a sheet of paper, right? Well, these things are a sheet of paper, basically.
Correct.
That just moves uniform, like the whole thing shifts in and out to make the sound.
Okay, so there's magic to make that happen without distortion.
It's
and
technology
without,
and stuff, yeah.
It's technology.
Technology
and stuff.
and stuff.
This is what we do.
Technology.
Dive into it. So features planar magnetic drivers for better dynamics and frequency response. Premium leather for style and durability. Sleek contemporary design from the BMW group. Lightweight, folds flat. 2.5 millimeter stereo. 3.5 millimeter 2/4 inch stereo adapter. But what's the other big deal about these? It is that they have a DAC in them, like it's a lightning connected headphone.
If you, that's kind of separate. You can buy the headphones and you can buy them with the Cypher cable.
Okay, which is
Or
what
I
I'm
think-
looking at here.
Yes.
Okay, so this is our beginning rollout of the world without a headphone jack, where everybody, including people that don't have Apple devices, suddenly use Lightning headphones, right?
Well, that might be difficult for them.
You just get an adapter, of course, back to 3.5 millimeter audio. So what's the benefit of having this Cypher Lightning cable for $50 more, mind you?
It has the DAC it's just for lightning connectivity.
It's a higher quality, higher resolution DAC than is available in the iPhone or the
Okay.
iPad.
So and as I look at these two cables, the one on the left with the Lightning connector with the DAC still is outputting to mono to each channel of your headphones, so each cable is independent.
Yep.
There.
Yeah, and you can absolutely just use a 3.5 millimeter. They come with a 3.5 millimeter cable, so you can plug this into any device.
Okay. And let's see. So he does his passive listening test through the 3.5 millimeter connector, and then he did some digital listening tests as well.
Digital listening.
Digital listening.
Digital. Which
Yeah,
is French
yeah, I
for
heard
really
it.
loud.
Digital
Yes.
listening. Yeah, I heard it.
Yes. No,
Uh-huh.
it went off.
No.
Yes, it's
I
on
don't hear it
again.
anymore.
Yes, no.
Yes.
Yes.
And so the Cypher is a 24-bit high-resolution integrated amp DSP DAC with Lightning connector. This is where we're moving. Like we know this is happening with the next iPhone, right? Like this is pretty much just an assured thing.
I mean, I do like that they were able to fit a small enough device in just with the volume up-down thing,
Sebastian notes that there were clear differences between the analog cable and the Cypher cable, as there will be when switching both DAC and headphone amp simultaneously. Found the digital experience to be outstanding on the iPad Mini 2, and certainly a better audio experience than just using the iPad's onboard headphone jack.
All right, that's promising.
Another advantage is the ability to enjoy high-resolution music, and for this, he played with both VLC and Vox for iOS. 24-bit music played back, sounded great. They found the sound a little bit better from his Calyx M DAP.
DAC.
No,
Digital audio player.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm just going to call it
yeah.
DAP with the 3.5 millimeter cable.
With these kind of membranes that doing the sound, they kind of require a little bit more power than other, like a
do they?
40 or
Okay.
50 millimeter cone. that most other headphone guys use. So if, from what I gather, what he's saying is if you really want to have the best performance from this, you're going to have a headphone amp, a true honest to God headphone amp that's going to drive these things as they're wanting to be driven.
More so than what's in that lightning cable?
Maybe. It'd probably do a little bit better with more than that.
Depends on how hard that lightning cable
which he said.
Yeah, he said the integrated amp, because it's an amp DAC combo in that lightning adapter.
Yeah.
He said it was a lot better on things like the low ends, but still not quite as good as his ridiculous audiophile only audio player.
And that's an expensive player that...
It's like a $400 player. Yeah.
Oh, the adapter.
The other thing he was using,
It's like $1,000.
It could be.
I don't think it was $400.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever.
Anyway,
but you're comparing that to a $50, integrated thing that's only able to draw, like, I don't know what the limit is, but there's a limit to how much current draw you're allowed reverse
from the phone.
I think it's pretty high, actually.
I don't know.
So
I thought it was like,
would your battery life actually be less?
Yeah,
using these headphones as opposed to.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be much more different than just listening to the headphone jack.
It would depend on what volume you're listening.
No, it's gonna be different.
Yeah, there would be more battery draw.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like.
Interesting.
If you're listening to a bunch of dubstep on the highest volume setting, then it would be lower.
Which I always am, but with my headphones open and sitting on my shoulders because I want everybody else to experience the high quality sound of my Audeze SINE headphones as well.
You want a deep tissue massage in your like pectoral muscles.
So apparently these are back ordered. They did get a gold award from Sebastian. He did like them a lot. They're expensive though, $449 base, and then $499 if you get it with the additional Lightning DAC amp cable. So again, very high end audio equipment, I think.
Yeah. So that.
Lightning, that's just mid-range audio equipment.
That Lightning DAC thing is $50.
$50.
So that's promising, actually, for everybody's gripe.
How much were your electrostatic earbuds, Alan?
Oh, the electrostatic. These are not the ones. I don't have the electrostatic ones.
Oh, I thought you.
How much were they?
No, the electrostatic ones are like $3,000 from Shure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hell no, I'm not doing that.
I had electrostatic keyboard.
I got the 846s, which are the quad driver ones.
So how pissed are you going to be if you have to have a dongle to use as headphones with your phone?
Well, see, the thing is that dongle, isn't really that bad, especially if they integrate it with a mic for doing phone calls.
And
somebody's going to make a thing like that.
It just sells by itself.
Yeah, if that company can sell a thing like that particular,
it's essentially what it is. It's just got male connectors coming out instead of a female connector to hook up regular headphones to. Essentially,
right. So a slight modification of that design, and you have a workaround to future phones that don't have a headphone jack, be it like the Lightning connector side or the USB-C connector side, right?
Sure.
Either way.
As a generality, if you're spending more than $200 on headphones, you should. They usually will sound a lot better with at least an amp.
Yes.
And then a DAC will get you higher resolution, which you may not notice. But adding a headphone amp to a pair of $250 headphones.
Yeah.
Like my Beats.
Yeah, exactly. Like your Beats. No. But something like the...
God, they sound awful.
Even like a $150-ish pair of headphones like the M80s or the Grados. Adding an amp actually opens them up a lot. So
yeah.
But for a mobile device... There's a lot of convenience issues to think about, right?
Yeah.
And let me add this in as well.
Okay.
Something that I noticed, Logitech, the G35, I tested these a while ago.
Okay.
I had the analog version, and then I had the USB version. When you have the amp and the DAC, you can then adjust and further tune your design so that they work better together as compared to, say, hey, I'm going to plug this 3.5 inch or 3.5 millimeter plug into this. It's going to sound different with this other thing. It's going to sound different with an amp. But you're going to get pretty consistent quality if they're bundling it and offering it with this Lightning adapter, because they have a lot more control over the output of that, and they can more adequately tune it to the audio properties of the headphones. So if you've got this product and you're thinking of just, plugging into anything, $50 is not a bad deal to kind of further optimize the output and make it more consistent and probably just better sounding instead of, getting a $400 to $800 digital audio digital audio player or a higher end amp for it.
Yeah.
Or even just a mid-range $150 one that's portable. Compared to that $50 cord, hey, I'm
plenty
not
of people
carrying a device the size of my phone around.
Exactly. Plenty of people are spending about $30 to $50 a piece on amps and DACs that are quote unquote portable, which are the size of a deck of cards.
Right. And Sebastian being one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got this Sound Blaster G5.
That's right.
It sounds awesome, but yeah, it's a little bit bigger than a deck of cards, so it's portable, but a bit of a pain in the ass for every day.
Yeah, it's portable, but not convenient. Like a gaming laptop is portable, but not mobile.
Exactly.
Convenient.
Exactly.
Right.
It has UPS in it.
Right. So if you're interested in that kind of device and you think you might want to start getting into some higher end audio stuff, which you don't because it gets really expensive, check out Sebastian's review of the Audeze SINE on-ear planar magnetic headphones. That's pretty good. A couple of other updates have come in on the Patreon. James Fleming edited his pledge from $54.80 to $59.99.
$59.99.
There we go.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Total
And
Drama
thank you.
edited their pledge from $5 to $10. Thank you very much.
That's a 100% increase.
It
That's
is.
insane.
And we received a new pledge from Nikolai for $3. So we appreciate everybody's support.
Hey. What do we get for $3?
I need about $3.50.
Need about $3.50.
Pour it in your cup.
$3.50.
Pour it in your hand for a dime.
How much for one rib?
One.
There's not a whole lot of writing here. There's a video that you guys should check out for this next story. Scott made a really awesome animation, and wrote a script.
You might call it a motion graphic.
A motion graphic, and then he wrote look, Piece of Perspective is live right now. He wrote a script that I then read into a recorder,
Semi-comfortably.
right, and did a voiceover for a video, basically explaining the idea of multi-GPU configurations and memory, and what the drawbacks are, how it all works, how Vulkan and DX12 may be able to help address some of it, what the current problems are. And it's a really good animation that we spent he spent a lot of time on,
And a lot of money.
Oh, so much
It's
money.
expensive to animate like this. You know what I'm saying?
It is expensive, and we want to do more stuff like this because I think it's really useful. It took a long time for us to get through it, but
it is the reason he bought a 1080.
oh really? Yeah.
It's true.
He was disappointed at his Blender rendering.
He did the Blender rendering, so he had to buy a new GPU for it. So we want to do more of this, and again, this is the type of thing that when he and I discussed this originally, the title of this, by the way, is A New Perspective on Multi-GPU Memory Management. Very clever, Scott. That it's like, okay, if we get enough traffic to this, if we get enough, Patreon support of this, like, hey, do more of this type of stuff, maybe we'll tackle other topics, because it is, like I said, a very time-consuming thing to do with, all these animations are handmade. This wasn't some script that was available on some page somewhere.
All of the animations were lovingly crafted out of Corinthian leather.
Exactly. Only the finest Corinthian animations were used in this project.
It's not the generic pre-built projects you and I use.
Correct. It is not the, where can I find a quick, easy template that I can modify in 12 minutes? This is much better than that. So check that out if you're curious about it at all. And then if you go to the story, if you're looking for a transcript, that is included as well. But really, you want to listen to my voice tell you about this stuff.
Honestly, I ever?
With the visual presentation that goes along with Scott's animation here. So very cool there. Thank you, Scott, for that. Let's get into some news. We'll jump right to it. No sponsor this week.
Did you just say let's get into the nudes? Because I'm all for that.
That's I've got a couple of tabs to go before we get to that. It's underneath GloFo 7 nanometer, and it's
7 millimeter. Oh god!
If you know,
I'm going to need a flashlight and a soldering iron to get 7 millimeter copper onto that substrate.
Oh man,
it's not about
Just
the width.
do it gently and slowly.
Nice. All right, so here we go. AMD. This is actually really cool. AMD gains market share in Q2. They actually. They did in Q1 of last year as well. But this quarter was like really weird. And I don't mean say this disparagingly. They went up from 22.8% in Q1 to 29.9% in Q2.
How?
That's 7 points of market share. That is a huge increase for a single quarter. And obviously, as you would guess, NVIDIA drops from 77 to 70 at the same time frame, right?
How?
Hasn't there been a trend for a few quarters, actually, in a row?
Well, it wasn't last from Q4 to Q1. It wasn't. It was like 1 or 2%.
But it was still
AMD gained some.
Yeah,
yes,
still the right direction for them.
Yeah. And it's important to note that Polaris, the RX 40, doesn't count into these numbers. Polaris was announced, released on June 29th.
So was it mobile?
I'm sorry. Yeah, June 29th.
Was it mobile, or is that not in this?
It's not mobile. This is only add-in board. So this is, but it's budget, mainstream, high-end, and workstation class graphics cards, essentially.
Does that also include OEM that use an add-in card?
Correct. It does. Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Now,
you see here, true audio is finally hitting its stride.
It's unfortunate for people who buy a Polaris, but yes. Yeah. There was a big sale on Thief on Steam, and everybody wanted to buy the game that used true audio.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about this is NVIDIA in their their earnings that you guys talked about last week had like record profits last year or last quarter, or was it? It was their annual reconciliation, wasn't it? Or was it a quarter?
It was a record for any quarter.
Okay. They're $238 million of profit.
Any quarter.
So it seems odd that NVIDIA would lose 7 points of market share in the same quarter that they...
But just think of how many $400 and above video cards that they sold.
So they had a huge ASP increase, average selling price. And obviously their margin was up. But how do you make, it doesn't matter how much money, it doesn't matter how much money they're making, but they would still be really pissed if they lost 7 points of market share.
Yeah.
The only thing I could think of is JPR and Mercury Research both kind of note somewhat nonchalantly that the market as a whole of AIB, of add-in cards, was actually down 20% in Q2 from Q1.
Okay.
That's a fifth.
Yeah.
It dropped by a fifth.
Monstrous.
And
I'm not good enough at math to figure out what that means for the percentage.
Well, nobody explains why they think that occurs. JPR says,
if you can put this in terms of bourbon, maybe we can better understand.
Sure. JPR says, the average drop it's a seasonal to have a drop from Q1 to Q2.
True,
but it's 9% average. This is more than double that. And so one of the people I talked to said that it's very possible that most of the 20% of drop sales were people who would normally have bought NVIDIA cards. And if you think about it, is there potential that everybody knew Pascal was coming, and so nobody bought GPUs anymore?
People knew GPUs were coming on both sides, so maybe they only bought. So the people maybe the only people buying GPUs were buying cheap GPUs, which more tend to be
true
AMD GPUs at this point in time.
Just more people didn't buy NVIDIA,
and you've got the snipers at this point saying, "Oh, they're totally sold out. So the second I see a card in stock, I have to buy it. I wasn't really going to, but now I have to because I'll never see it again."
Yeah, but see, that would still be a positive towards NVIDIA, I would think, right? Because
it's a positive towards both.
They were
the 1080 and 1070. The 1080 launched in May, mid-May. The 1070 launched in late May. So in theory, there was 30 plus days of sales of 1080 and 1070. Now, stock was a major issue, right? But NVIDIA has made some significant claims about how many cards they've sold. Unless they sold all of them in the month of July, or the vast majority of the month of July, I don't know. To me, this seems like a quarter from now, we may look at the Q3 results, and maybe it will have just cycled back, right? Yeah. Where NVIDIA gains that 7% back or something.
Seems almost impossible that it couldn't.
I don't know.
Because AMD only is really selling a new GPU in one market segment.
Right. Yeah. They've got the 470 and 460, but they're...
Sure.
But it's those are, and what's important to note is it's market share. It's not market dollars. It's unit based, not dollar based. So if NVIDIA sells one $600 video card and AMD sells three $200 video cards, those are worth the same value wise. Although NVIDIA's probably made more money. But AMD has 3x the market share improvement in that regards too. So I don't know. Worth noting, if nothing else. Jeremy, how do you like your MasterLiquid?
Well, lukewarm. I like it body temperature.
I don't know. I like it a little bit cooler than that, but I am disappointed that they went with. Oh, sorry. There's a different story I'm thinking about now. The MasterLiquid is confusing to me.
Okay.
It looks neat. It's incredibly compact. Boom. I'm water cooling onto my CPU. The radiator is right there. The loop is right there.
It's like configurable, right? Like this is a self-contained water cooler that basically doesn't have any tubes to connect to a radiator that attaches to a different portion.
Because everything's
system,
right there.
And so, but it looks like it has two different configurations, right? Like you have this vertical orientation, and then you have this horizontal orientation for it, which is a neat idea as well.
Especially if you've got a crowded CPU socket, so you need to do it vertically as opposed to horizontally.
Or if you've got a small form factor build, right, and you want to do it horizontally.
If you wanna.
Does this defeat the purpose of self-contained water?
This is what confuses me, because the radiator is supposed to be away from the source of heat. It's by name.
It's not. Who cares where the radiator's at? It's how big the radiator is. That thing's tiny. It's a small radiator.
Fair enough. And it's serving the purpose of a heatsink, more or less.
And not only that, but the reservoir's small. You know what you can do with a small reservoir?
It's not small. It's efficient.
I don't know what the use case of this is where a specific heatsink wouldn't be.
So
I guess I need to see a review and see how efficient it is and like how well it works.
That's the thing. I haven't seen the performance of it, but just the design confuses me.
I think.
Let me tell you, it's physics. It's going to be crap.
I don't know, guys, because you've got a lot more surface area that has the full amount of heat temperature present.
Correct.
Across all of
the fluid because
there's liquid moving through the things, as opposed to you couldn't just make a heatsink with. If you made a regular heatsink with the same amount of surface area that's not coolant filled, just like a heatsink, right? It would not be nearly as efficient because the heat would not conduct.
The heat is at the bottom and takes time to circulate.
Okay, Alan, let's take your theory.
I'm just saying
and say, okay, so you've got a little bit more capacity for heat because you've got a fluid in there, correct?
Yep. So
but look at the size of that radiator and compare it to the heat dissipation of a copper or a copper aluminum.
That's my point.
A standard one,
a Mori special.
Yeah, you may have
times this size.
Okay, you're gonna eventually fill up kind of that heat load.
Yep.
But you've still got a small or same amount of fin space for air cooling.
That's my point.
Doesn't matter.
My point is that
it doesn't matter your conduction. We're looking at physics.
Got nowhere to release.
You can only dissipate so much heat from a surface area that much.
Yes, but my point is that if all of the surface area is at a higher temperature overall, then you have a higher delta in temperature between the air and the thing trying to get the heat out of it. Right?
I'm thinking of just pure heat calories dissipation.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
It's energy.
It's an MC delta T thing, man.
It is. But we're looking surface area. It doesn't matter the conductive material.
It doesn't say that.
You're still going to have the same amount of surface area
That's my point.
Air is going to flow to.
That's my point. If you have, even if they had identical surface area, this would be better.
Sure. If it did, but it has less surface area. The question is how much less surface area does it have?
Significantly.
And how much harder does it have to work to cool at the same level?
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I don't know.
You're going to have to get one and find it out.
We can test it.
Guru 3D benchmarked a 4970K stock at idle on this heatsink at 38 degrees, which was the highest of any of the coolers they tested.
But
any of the air coolers or water coolers?
Yes.
That's idle, though. I want to know load.
Okay. Load was 70 degrees C at 100% load.
Compared to what?
I don't know. Which device would you like to have a comparison
How much
against?
worse was it worse than other ones? Is that
so an H80i...
well, that's also a water cooler. I'm talking an air cooler.
I don't know specific model numbers for air coolers. I'm sorry.
What? Guru 3D actually reviewed this.
Yep.
Yeah, they did.
Let me look at it. So idle versus load. Okay. So
Just compare it to the best air cooler.
The Noctua D15
Sure.
was 61 degrees Celsius.
And this was 70?
And this was 70.
Okay, so not as good then.
Yeah.
Alan, you never listen to me.
I'm just saying. It could have been better. It could have been better. It was possible.
Talking physics here, and you're off.
Now there are only 3 heat sinks.
Heat transfer in FUFO is only half of all of my nuclear training. That's okay.
I guess I don't understand. Like, clearly Cooler Master knows this.
Yeah, have you seen the size of the heat sinks on a Los Angeles class or Ohio class?
Yeah, actually I have.
I know you have. They're massive.
So this isn't the first one of these we've seen, Ryan.
No?
No, it's not.
Corsair.
And the
Corsair
failed
like this?
horribly.
Okay. So that was, yeah. But I think their radiator was significantly larger than this.
I honestly don't remember.
Well, and it was for a specific system.
It was for a specific chassis.
But they sell it outside of that system. You can
Do
just
they?
buy that.
So why bother making this if it's not even as good as an air cooler?
That's exactly
Because
the point we've been
people
having.
buy crazy shit,
Okay.
Yeah.
They do.
and they can sell it.
And this next story is a perfect example.
It sort of makes sense for like home theater applications, maybe where you can't fit in a tall stack if you do it in the horizontal orientation.
Oh, yeah. 'cause
It
you
is
can
very
put it-
quiet at
but
idle.
You can rotate
and it's very quiet at load. But again, the Noctua cooler that I said was more efficient
has much larger fan
that
diameter
is
to it.
also quieter.
But the D15 is a Mori-sized cooler, from what I remember.
It's a Noctua,
yeah.
so I'm going to say yes.
Well, they don't only make
So
it.
then it does have significantly more surface area than
Yeah.
than
Yeah,
this.
the
thing.
D15 is
But
gigantic.
that was the argument.
But
Their
the-
surface
but-
area sucks.
But the surface area sucks compared to how much space all the
but
other
the surface
stuff
area
takes
is
up.
Right.
bigger.
You know, so
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know.
something else, please.
Something else, please. How about a cube PC standing on its edge?
Can you stand
Yeah.
on it standing on its edge?
I could. HP Omen desktop. Oops. Do that again. There you go.
So do you have a picture of Wallace standing on this?
Not on here. So this is an HP machine built by Main Gear, or at least designed by Main Gear. How's this work?
Designed by apparently.
Okay.
It looks like a
I think
gear.
it's built by Main Gear too. But
It looks interesting.
Shut up, Alexa.
do you remember next?
Alexa is playing music.
Alexa
for
just
me.
started playing music.
We're going to get taken down.
It's very dramatic.
Alexa, stop.
Thank you.
So this is So I'm gonna be honest here. It is essentially a computer in a box case turned on an angle. Am I missing something?
Yes.
It
No,
has a pedestal.
you're not.
It has. I mean, it looks cool. Like the kickstand type thing that it has there looks neat. This would look cool sitting on a desk. I do not deny that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big desk.
It is. I mean, look at the back. I mean, if you look at the back of it, you can see this is not a small chassis. Like you see the power plug down here at the bottom, and you can see, the motherboard
That's a
connectors.
full size
up here.
ATX or is it a micro ATX? It's micro ATX.
Yeah,
micro
yeah,
ATX,
you're right.
the
It is.
case
It is.
Yeah.
Gigantic.
So it's going to be the size of that Corsair,
Yeah.
but rotated.
Yeah. Was it the Air 540? Is that what that was? Yeah.
Can we start the rumors that HP is going to buy Main Gear?
You
Just
can
like
do it.
Voodoo?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I could do that. I replied to Wallace, who's the CEO over Main Gear, with the picture, or I sent it out on Twitter, right, of me standing on the original
Blackbird
Voodoo
02?
Blackbird chassis. Yeah. Which I had to beg to get just that chassis, but I think they made me give the chassis back. I didn't want a system. I didn't want to review a system. I only wanted to review the case. And they sent me one. But I guess I just sent it back, because otherwise I'd still be using that, because that was pretty cool.
And you cleaned out your office, so.
Yeah, I cleaned out my office. If it were there, I would know about it. So that's the HP Omen system in a cube, I guess.
Or you
at
can just buy the
$17.99.
cube.
Oh, you can?
Oh yeah, $600 for the empty cube.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's very expensive.
it's expensive, and I know that the Voodoo chassis was when they eventually sold it on its own too.
absolutely true.
But customizations and stuff. If you want another cube-shaped PC that's maybe smaller.
Did you sneak a story? in
On's
here?
BRIX.
I guess I did. I must have left it out of the rundown. So here is the Gigabyte BRIX Gaming UHD is a 2.6 liter chassis which is significantly smaller than the last computer we just looked at.
Do you remember the Mac tissue paper dispenser?
Yep.
No.
Does it kind of remind you of that?
No, that was
in
a
more
cube.
than one way.
It was a cube, like in the product name, because it was the cube.
Yeah.
This is
more
cube.
like an elongated cube. Didn't we have this
Come
discussion?
on, it was
a
an
prism?
elongated cube too.
What do you call a
Is this
3D
prism
rectangle?
shape, Ken?
What's this called, Ken?
It's a rectangular prism.
Here we go again. Damn it.
It's a long cube is what it is. And so this is what you got here. This is your fan. I don't know if it was intake or exhaust, but there's a fan underneath this, and then there's air drawn in on the sides, I think, and then it's blown down and out through the bottom of the chassis. It's a full PC. It is essentially a Gigabyte BRIX that they took and stretched vertically. They just like picked it up and made it a long cube.
They hit the extrude button. And
Right.
Drag
Yeah,
it up.
that's what they did. They opened it up in a 3D rendering tool and just went, "Nee." And then just like the magic of making
Did
lenses.
it make that sound when they did it?
Yeah, just like the magic of making camera lenses, as they stretched it out, it automatically generated all the parts,
The spreadsheet.
and connections.
The spreadsheet just made it
about
all work.
what the thing would do. Yeah. And so that's how you came up with 3 mini DisplayPort connections, 1 full-size HDMI 2.0. You have 802.11ac. You've got 4 USB 3.0 ports, Gigabit Ethernet, USB 3.1. There's your power button up top. It's actually, I don't know if the picture does it justice. It's actually a really good-looking device. It's brushed aluminum look. It's not actually aluminum, I don't think. It's pretty sure it's just plastic. But it looks really good. And you can see a couple of pictures of the inside. And you can see there's 2 different kind of not quadrants, that would be there were 4 of them, 2 different sections. The GPU is here. Right now it has a GTX 950 in it. Although when it goes on sale, I believe it will have a Pascal GPU in it of some kind. And then this is the processor over here on this side. So pricing was originally stated to me at about $1,300, but that was recanted the next day. So either that means they were scared that it was $1,300 and nobody liked that price, or that they're going to adjust the price accordingly. So that was pretty cool. That was one of the interesting things I saw towards the end of
it's kind of disappointing.
And that's
if you can fit a desktop 980 in a notebook, why can't you put one in one of these?
The heatsink in here is significantly smaller than the heatsink in a notebook.
That doesn't seem to make much sense by volume.
If you look at the picture, right, this is the heatsink here in its entirety, right? Like from here,
looks like a pretty large
to here.
heatsink.
Yeah.
well, no, but that's the difference between it and the trash can. Is the trash can was essentially an entire.
Now, if
heat
only
thing.
they had put that Cooler Master.
Now you're talking.
I like it.
I mean, it could also be that like the one single fan can't push enough air through it.
Okay.
The laptops have more fans in it. I mean, it's an interesting question to have. Like, what is the thermal? If we get one of these, we could take the heatsink off and have Lee do some like synthetic thermal testing on the cooler
It's
itself.
just like how we see the BRIX and machines like this, where they put in sort of mobile GPUs in the past, and like the dead Zotac box that we gave away at QuakeCon. Just like now we have really powerful mobile GPUs that can fit in small form factors.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Yep, agreed. NVIDIA did officially announce a GeForce GTX 3 gigabyte card this past week.
How many shaders does it have?
128 fewer shaders than the 6 gig variant. I swore to people at IDF. I swore to people at IDF that would not be the case. I said they'd be stupid. They'd be idiotic to release a card called the GTX 1060 and then change the core count on it. That would be dumb. Who would do such a thing? Well, it turns out
I think Jensen would.
the GTX 1070 mobile that has more CUDA cores at lower clock speed in order to meet efficiency goals now has they're doing a similar thing here, but there's no power restrictions. There's no power reason to do it, right? 128 less CUDA cores in the 3 gig version. I think you guys talked about this last week, so I won't do too much of it. It was just rumors then, but now it's confirmed. But it literally is the same clock speeds, the same memory bus width, same TDP of 120 watts, same 6-pin power connector. You just go from 6 gigs to 3 gigs, which would make sense, except for you now have 1,152 CUDA cores instead of 1,280. It will be a $199 MSRP part, probably, maybe, someday. I mean,
they're probably doing the core thing for binning, right? Like, they probably have some of these.
Yeah. I'm sure that's what it is.
They're making some of these chips, and it doesn't have just that many cores.
The cynical way to look at it is like, oh, there's no need for 6 gigs. instead of 3 gigs. And so in order for there to be any performance delta to justify the $50 price point change, they did this on purpose.
But they should have called the 6 gig one the 1060 Ti.
Yeah, there's a way around this. Yeah, other than this.
At least it's not 3.5 gigs.
Well, for 3.5 gigs, that's more than 3.
You know what I mean?
I mean, they could have advertised it for 3 and it'd be 3.5. That'd be great.
Oh,
I don't know. So that is out. Apparently, it will have a $199 price, $199 price tag, no Founders editions, through partner boards only. And I actually got notifications for several of them. Just to clear it up,
Just to clear it up, changing that core count by that number should have no effect related to the 3.5/4 gig thing of the past.
No.
It's not the same.
The memory is not attached to core count. It's attached to other segments.
I just wanted to clarify that because I'm sure it'll come up and people will think that or something.
Quick update to our Patreon. Edsel Malazig.
Oh.
Malazig? Edited their pledge from $3 to $10.
That almost got real funny.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Edsel. We appreciate that. Moving on to the next stories. These will be quick. ASUS ROG GX 800 4K G-Sync gaming laptop. Jeremy, how many of these are you going to
buy? All of them, because I need dual GTX 1080 desktops in my laptop.
Yeah.
Look at that keyboard. LED.
I'm assuming it's a Kale or a Cherry, but they refer to it as a mechanical tactile advanced gaming keyboard.
Okay.
Or MECTAG.
I don't know who's proprietary.
Not real switches.
Branding there.
Yeah, so they might be just rebranded switches. They might not be. But either way, you're looking at a laptop that Lord only knows weighs how much. It's 18 inches. It's got a 4K display. 2 desktop 1080s in it. And the dock, as you're looking at right there, it's not just a big butt. That's a water cooler. And I'm very disappointed that they decided to call it the Republic Gamers exclusive Hydro overclocking system. When they could have figured out something that fits Sphincter. Because I'm pretty much guessing there is a plug that you sit in, and the water cooler is there, and when you're mobile, there is no water, there is no leak because there's a little O-ring, but when you insert it into the dock...
This is why you're not in marketing, Jeremy, I think. Maybe
you might be
this
right.
is
but
the indicator.
People would buy that, wouldn't they?
I would not buy a Sphincter-based laptop.
I might.
That makes sense, actually.
SPHINKTR, come on, we can market this.
Yeah.
That's the name of my
But on the other hand, if you're looking for something that doesn't take up much space, and you want a significant amount of monitors, and you don't plan on carrying it around very long, it's actually a nice little small form factor to plug it into and just go nuts with.
It's basically has,
and occasionally take it around to show off for the 5 minutes the battery's going to last.
Right. I mean, it essentially has quick disconnects on the back, so when you pull it away from the dock, the water inside stays inside, and it just uses it as a standard kind of heat pipe based cooler. And when you get home, plug it in, it will start to circulate the water and use it that way. And I think when you have it home and you're plugged into that dock, it's actually going to do automatic higher end overclocking. God, I hope so. Otherwise, what the hell's the point of doing
hydro overclocking system? One would assume.
Okay.
It'll probably require
Mark 11 and Firestrike Ultra. The GX 800 equipped hydro overclocking system scored 76 higher than the other gaming laptops in the market.
Great.
That's the worst.
Totally meaningful.
That's the worst explanation of a performance metric ever.
Well, it's SLI scaling. Yeah, the second GPU dumped in an extra 76%.
At least this is two 1080s and SLI on a 4K screen as opposed to a 1080 screen, which I have seen listed a couple of times. So
is it the 1080 120 hertz? At least.
I hope so.
I see.
But even then, that's still too much.
It does have
there
G-Sync.
still isn't an 18-inch 4K G-Sync display for laptops, is there?
Oh, and the one other thing that I forgot to mention, which actually does give us a bit of a usage, it's set up specifically for VR.
Wow.
So you can plug the headset in and away you go, so you can take this to show your friends off VR.
Sure.
So it has
a not ridiculous
HDMI port.
Yeah, well, and 2 USB.
Yep.
At the same time, hey,
Yep.
it beats hauling around the backpack system or your LAN party, right?
Maybe.
I hear backpacks are in.
Well, we haven't seen it yet.
GlobalFoundries is apparently going to skip 10 nanometer and jump to 7 nanometer. Josh, do we care? Josh.
Oh, come on, get excited.
He's not muted. He's just not talking.
Josh,
What happened? I went pink.
We've gone plaid.
Is that some silicone on your pocket, or are you just excited to talk about this?
No. We've discussed this before.
Okay. We'll do it quickly.
These numbers are marketing. Who the hell knows what GlobalFoundries is actually doing?
Okay.
Is their 7 nanometer going to be comparable to what Intel considers 7 nanometer here in 2-3 years? Mm-hmm. Or is it going to be more akin to Intel's 10 nanometer? How is Samsung's 10 nanometer going to compare? I know a guy in the industry, and if you're going to be going 7 nanometer, I mean true 7 nanometer, features that are that actual size, you're going to need to have EUV litho. And so far, there's essentially, I think, 10 installations or so of EUV, 100-watt EUV products around the world. And if they're hoping to skip to 7 nanometer, they're, as far as I know, GlobalFoundries does not have an EUV machine in their foundries.
Isn't to some extent, like, I thought something about Intel's previous, like when they hit whatever their lowest nanometer is on their litho, like it wasn't necessarily the feature size, it was like an effective feature size or something.
Yeah, because 22 nanometer, Intel was actually, their smallest stuff was like 26 nanometer.
They're
Right,
measuring the distance between like FinFET peaks, right? No, that was at 14.
Yeah, strangely, they brag about how small their things are, not how big they're.
Yeah, but I thought as they got smaller, it was more of like an effective.
It's more marketing now.
Yeah, it's
like
really truly marketing.
Like it's not truly like the feature size is going to be 7 nanometers, like it would be.
16 nanometer TSMC is actually more of a 20 nanometer metal layer product.
Right. So when we're talking 7 nanometer here, we're talking effectively 7, right?
Sorta.
Oh.
Right.
See, that's the problem. Is that we don't have
actual feature size numbers.
it.
Can't you just like get a microscope out or a magnifying glass?
What? Oh yeah, because light really focuses
I
well.
have a micrometer.
Okay, well, you're halfway.
Do you have a anemometer?
I did. I mean,
Do
if
you
you
have
go
that
real
scanning
slow, it does the
electron
manometer.
microscope in the new church by chance?
I'm going to
they
pray
have
real
one of
hard
those
and see if
too.
one shows up.
So
X-ray diffraction.
a functional transistor made out of 7 atoms measured 4 nanometers in length. So you're getting pretty low on the whole, you're talking like what, 10 atoms across on a feature if you're doing 7 nanometers? Like that's...
You only need one atom. Just needs to be on or off.
I guess. I don't know. Just... yeah.
Yeah, it's it is entirely marketing. It really is.
Right.
It has no
Look at that
relevance
parking
to physics. It's just
What about the parking lot?
what about that?
There's
Is
like
a nice.
there's like a convertible Toyota Solara right there.
Okay.
Ooh.
Why
in
would
upstate
anybody
New
even
York.
buy one of those?
That is nice.
Yeah. I don't have a good answer for this.
Okay.
We don't know any of the basics of it. They say, hey, we're gonna go skip 10 nanometer. We're gonna go to 7. Well, how in the hell are you gonna do that?
Fair enough. Let's. Hey Ken,
Yes.
print me out a shroud. ASUS introduces 3D printed parts for their notebooks. I'm sorry, their motherboards, GPUs, and peripherals. Jeremy, what the hell?
Well, I mean, we do know a guy in the industry, right?
I don't.
But literally, ASUS started this off. You guys might have seen it at CES with their was it the Sabertooth?
Yes.
That motherboard model. Yeah.
This one right here, yeah.
So it had a couple of little screw holes that literally were labeled 3D print. And so in this case,
that's the Z170 Aura RGB.
Oh, okay.
or that's it. It's the Aura. It's not the.
Yeah.
That's a big
If you
picture.
click through to the ASUS link, there's that you can see that board with the holes on it.
Yeah, at this point, I can't keep track of my Z170s. They're just
understood.
so many of them. But so, boom, you can print out a nice little extra fan shroud to mount directly on your board.
So this is ASUS is providing the models.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they through OpenCAD, so just about anyone can grab them.
So you can get this.
Embellishments.
Yes,
Let me embellish my motherboard.
it's sort of like a belly piercing, but
So
you're,
you can't really see it very well from here, but Ken did print us out. This is a shroud for an SLI bridge. Is that right?
Yeah.
yep.
And it's basically.
Yeah, they have the bridge on that page.
Is it on this page?
Yeah.
Scroll down.
Scrolling. This
There you
this
go.
enormous thing here. So it's this printed in semi-translucent orange, and then we've Ken replaced the ROG logo with the PC Perspective logo at an angle, mind you. Very well done. And now I will absolutely, positively, definitely use this on all of my SLI connections going forward. I mean, it's a really cool idea. Like, the number of people that have 3D printers or access 3D printers at this point is still small. It's a growing audience.
But that's the funny thing.
Yeah.
They've partnered with Shapeways.
Oh, they
So
didn't even really
Shapeways is an
partner with
online 3D printing shop where you throw them a couple of bucks, and the next thing you know, they've printed it for you and shipped it to you.
And there's also 3D hubs where people with local desktop 3D printers will
Also true.
will quote sort of your bid and then print the object, and either you can go pick it up or they'll ship it to you.
It's like 80 cents.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Because you're providing them with the CAD design. They don't have to do anything.
Sure.
Unless, you want to put your logo on it.
Can I print LEDs yet?
Not quite.
Well, not quite, but you can print LED mounts.
I still think this is cool. Like, I don't...
If you scroll up, they actually have a couple of functional prints. Like they have a M.2 or like that
24
They got the
pin cable
comb.
comb.
Yeah. And then if you scroll up, there's a 40 millimeter fan
it
mount
is
for an
absolutely
M.2
useless
slot.
for me. The cable
The comb, yeah.
comb, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you buy a 40 millimeter fan. It mounts here inside this section, and it screws into the... Okay.
So essentially, you screw in headers to your case through the board. and then
The
screw in
exact same
screws
headers that
into
your
it.
M.2 SSD is going to use.
Huh, okay.
They're doing
so
cool
it-
stuff. I mean,
That's pretty cool. I mean, that's what we like to see, right?
First in the business, too. This is awesome, not just for us that like to sort of play around with our stuff, but for like Maury that wants to do a huge case mod.
Right.
Well, hey, the motherboard comes with mounting points for 3D printed stuff, and
If you don't like the colors
some
of the
license-
shrouds, in theory, you can
Off they
3D
come.
print your own at whatever colors you want. We could get glow in the dark. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
no, it is pretty neat.
Yeah, very cool. Oh wait, I did that one. How about it's time for picks of the week?
How about it?
Let's see. Mine is this little guy, right? Yeah, the ThinkPad X1 Yoga. And you might say, Ryan, that laptop's been out for a while. And I would say,
Hey,
shut
Ryan.
up.
That laptop's been out for a while.
Shut up. What this is now, and we just got this in last week before. This is, and I don't know how this is going to show up on video.
not very well.
This is the OLED screen version.
Wow, that's pretty. That is dark.
Even
Dark,
on
dark,
this
dark,
in
dark,
the video,
dark,
does that
dark,
still work
You can
pretty
turn it
well?
up.
So that is, we saw this at CES, right? So it's been a long time since we've seen it. It's been 8 months since we saw it. And they're finally releasing the first laptop with the OLED screen. It's 2560 by 1440. I don't know if I read this on the website right, but they might have a 4K screen with OLED.
I don't think so.
With optional OLED technology. No, 2K, 2560 by 1440.
That's still pretty nice for that size of screen.
It is. It's good.
In fact, it might even be a little too high for a 13-inch screen.
Is it 13 or 14?
It might be 14.
Yeah. The like, for instance, and again, this is really hard to tell on a thing like it's all black screen and a black taskbar, and then the Windows icon is bright white. And Alan, you can see like if you look at that, like the icon versus the background,
Oh, that's
just down
true.
here,
It is
right?
super, super
It's just
bright.
like super, like the contrast is tremendous, right?
Even on my crap-tacular LCD screen,
Yeah.
I could see that difference. That That is black.
It actually comes across on the camera pretty well.
Yeah, it looks
Does it?
nice.
It looks very, very
Yeah.
black.
Far
Yeah.
blacker than your shirt and your heart.
Oh, that's good, I guess.
Yeah.
And I mean, you got to pick the right picture for it, right? So you got to get the black background with the very colorful fish. Now there are some downsides to OLED. It uses more power on whites, like light colors. But if you have all black, it actually using very little power, right? And obviously the advantage in image quality and contrast is tremendous, right? If you have a phone with an OLED screen, you know immediately what we're talking about.
They do ship that OLED version with a slightly larger battery by a couple watt hours.
To try to offset some of the power consumption differences. I'll be curious to see.
There's still a difference in their quoted numbers, but they do put a larger battery in it.
To try to do its best to balance it out. Yeah. Yep. It's really impressive. We just got it in, so we don't have a review of anything yet. But if you want a Lenovo ThinkPad laptop, which are very good laptops, and you just want like the prettiest screen you can buy today, that is going to be at the top of the list. So,
Prettiest screen that I've ever seen. OLED.
All right, Jeremy, you're next. Which link here do I want? Both of them?
Well, the first one is actually the guy that figured it out, Paul Throughout.
Okay.
Or not him. It was one of his co-associates. Sorry, Prad Sams actually posted it to Thurrott.com.
Right.
It's the fix for what's been plaguing Josh for the last 2 weeks.
Hepatitis?
What would be plaguing me today after the adversary update.
VD.
Adversary update.
Adversary. That's a good name.
Came to me today, and I'm going with it.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at?
So we're looking at a registry flag that fixes the YUY2 only bug that has been destroying webcams
So
across the planet.
It's not a bug.
Waste. No, it's a feature.
It's a feature.
Yeah.
It's a feature.
It's intended
And
functionality.
To be honest, the idea behind it to prevent lag because of background noise or because of back signal makes a bit of sense. Just check to see how many people are actually using that before you switch to YUY2. Future proofing, yeah, just wait till.
I'm sure none of those people are using those cameras anymore anyway. Just push
none
the
of us are.
I mean, it's not like the only webcams that can negotiate to HD on Skype use H.264 encoding instead of YUY2.
Well,
that
some
would
of
be
us use
crazy.
MJPEG.
But how would Microsoft know what Skype does?
It's just silly to think that they know.
Or how would they know what it does with the second in the list of their recommended webcams to use for Skype?
What's the first
on their
one?
own? It's like some HP webcam or something.
Yeah, it's.
But C920 is the second in the list. It's a list of like 40 webcams. It's the second one, and it's probably the most common one out there.
Popularity.
Yeah.
Because I think the HP one's a built-in one.
All right.
To be perfectly honest. So this is a registry fix. If you're on a 64-bit, you can skip the WoW 64 path. You only need to fix the first registry edit.
Right.
But yeah, fix them both. Why not? And they do have to be D words, not Q words. It's tempting when you're on a 64-bit system to say, "Well, didn't we get rid of D words?"
Son
No,
of a D word.
No, it's a D word. It's not a Q word. And hey, look, my camera works. Josh's camera works.
Yeah.
Can we go back
Don't
to
wait
it
until
not working?
September for the fix. Just Woody will do it.
All right. Josh, what do you got?
Me. So I'd like to have a lot of games loaded up on my machine. Just because I'm lazy, and yeah, I'm lazy. And I can't afford a multi-terabyte SSD.
Okay.
And so I saw this. And I bought this last year for about $200, maybe 180. It's a 4 terabyte Toshiba, 7200 RPM, 128 megs of cache. It's pretty quick.
I paid more than that for a 10 gig drive, man.
What's that?
I paid more than that for a 1 gig drive.
You got hosed.
My first 4 gig drive was $240.
Oh, yeah, I think I bought a 1 gig drive for about 160.
Yeah. But anyway, for $120 for 4 terabytes, a pretty solid performance.
It's pretty good.
That's a nice deal. It's not
Is that less than 10 cents a gig?
just a little.
Just curious if
so
hard drives
anyway,
got
I've
down
been
there.
using this as a game
That
drive.
is what the bet
Latency
was.
is not bad. Throughput is good. It's a good little drive for not a whole lot of money, especially if you like having a ton of games on your computer. What, No Man's Sky is not that big, but
I saw you
playing.
playing.
Alley is something like 40 freaking gigs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
40 gigs.
I use a 500 gigabyte SSD.
500 terabyte SSD.
I use a 500 gigabyte SSD
You got
for
for 10
games,
cents a
and I have to. This is only for like benchmarks. I'm only keeping like what I think are the most relevant tests that I need to have on hand all the time, and I still am swapping games back and forth. It's really stupid. All right, last, Alan.
Speaking of terabytes, so a few weeks back we reviewed the 10 terabyte Barracuda Pro.
We did.
Right? But
this guy right here.
It was hard to find them on Amazon, but if you look on Amazon right now, which is the second link in the,
let me
in the
go
thing,
to that one.
there's Seagate has their whole line available on Amazon for purchase. Barracuda Pro is a little bit pricey, I will say.
But what about the Iron Wolf?
But the Iron Wolf, which is their NAS drive, and if you're buying 10 terabyte drives for stuff, you're probably buying them for a NAS, and I would definitely say get the Iron Wolf.
What if you
did
didn't?
Old Spice name that by chance?
What if you just bought one 10 terabyte drive for your OS drive and all your games?
It's just if it fails.
I don't need an SSD. I just want 10 terabytes on one SATA connection.
Well, you got no redundancy, and
what could go wrong?
You know, I mean, so these are helium-filled drives, but they are
See,
Seagate's first stab at helium-filled drives.
Yeah. I mean, it's helium. What do you got to do?
And while I will say that
put in helium, seal drive, done.
The HGST helium drives have had vastly superior reliability numbers compared to everybody else's drives.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that these helium-filled drives will do the same, right? So yeah,
That doesn't mean they won't.
And by the way, please do not buy 8 or 10 terabyte archive drives for your NAS.
That's just dumb.
That do shingled magnetic recording. The SMR drives do not. First of all, they don't employ time limited error recovery. So if you TLER, so it's like it's like not using Western Digital Reds for a NAS. It's like using desktop regular drives for a NAS.
Okay.
So you could end up with a scenario where you have a bad sector on 2 separate drives, but one drive fails, and your rebuild causes the second drive to fail and time
You're really
out.
burying the lead here, bro.
What do you mean?
There's a more important detail that you're getting to.
The shingled thing, the performance is just horrible.
They can only really write sequentially.
Well,
They write.
yeah, they just write randomly very poorly.
It's tape essentially.
Yeah, I mean,
No, it's not that bad.
it's like a few tapes. It's not like one tape. It doesn't have to go.
It's RAID tapes. It's fine.
Yeah,
Redundant array of independent tape.
yeah, it's rate.
Hey, don't make fun of Bonnie. Actually, eTechnics
By the way,
benchmarked one of those.
Yeah, so
Which I did link to earlier in the week.
benchmark to watch the
Skyhawk.
the Skyhawk,
Yeah, the Skyhawk.
Not the Iron Wolf.
not the Iron Wolf.
Not the Iron Wolf.
So the Skyhawk was
name.
like the enterprise-y drive, right?
It was
from
like
them.
There's only 10 left in stock. Order all of them now.
Oh, it's the surveillance drive.
That was the surveillance
it's for
one. Yeah.
video, so it's
can't
for
you tell by the
constant
name
writes and
Skyhawk?
very little reads.
So we have a sample of that. I haven't published a review yet because the only way to properly test that is to hit it with a very specific workload.
Yeah,
You have to hit it
gotta
with-
write everything and then read occasionally.
Well, no, but it's the way you have to do the writes. You have to do multiple sequential writes.
What is it?
In parallel.
64 sequential camera reads?
Yeah, it's rated to handle 64 sequential streams.
That sounds like something you could probably emulate pretty easily.
It's harder than
64
you think.
HD recordings simultaneously.
Because most software that's available, if you just tell it
So,
to do
Ryan-
64 sequential streams at the same time, they will start all of them from 0 at the same time.
Just
So
start
if anyone
64
wants to visit
instances
the
of
new
same
PC
app.
per church,
Well,
there will be 64 HD cameras around
That's
the
right.
area.
Well, let's get
Not for surveillance.
Get Seagate
benchmarking.
to sponsor
benchmarking,
a 64 camera setup for the office. External cameras.
and you want to put them all into just one drive?
One hard drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the benchmark is.
Okay.
It'll be 320
It's
by
what Jimmy
240.
Stewart
but-
would want.
By the way, the
Yeah.
Seagate 10 terabyte Iron Wolf at $448 is 4.4 cents per gig.
Which is on the high side compared to, I think you can get an 8 terabyte Western Digital for $300.
You can get a 4 terabyte Toshiba for what, 120?
300 divided by 8.
I mean, you're going for large capacity in a
3.7.
potentially small NAS, that only has 2 bays or something, or 4 bays, right? Some people want a lot of storage in their
Some people are nuts.
in their NAS for not that many bays.
Some people need
Would
to
you
stop
quit cussing
pirating
all the
stuff.
time?
Anyway,
Some people need to go get an ice cream sandwich.
Before we end the show, 2 more Patreon bumps we got here. Put a sock in it, which is appropriate. Edited their pledge to $3.99.
Josh.
Meaningful silence.
$3.99. I'm still thinking about the strong bad and ice cream sandwich.
And then Victor Suarez bumped their pledge from $3 to $5. So thank you to Victor Suarez and Put a Sock in it.
Mate.
So thank you to everybody who contributed to the Patreon campaign today. We definitely appreciate it. That is going to be it for the show. We'll be back next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Again, pcper.com/subscribe if you want to go sign up for our notifications list. Or you can just follow me on Twitter or follow @PCPer on Twitter. By the way, @PCPer got verified.
Sweet.
But you didn't?
I didn't.
You didn't.
Yet.
You're not important.
So,
PC Perez.
but that's really who it has twice as many followers as I do, so
That's
it should,
true.
right? And whatever. And so I've immediately been followed by more porn ladies than you can imagine.
Because you're verified?
on the yeah.
What does that have to do
Oh,
with?
you
Well, like when you get a verified
lucky
account,
boy.
you get put into a different list.
Oh.
Right? And now you're
You
important.
get put into the porn
You get
lady list?
recognized at burger places. Your name
Oh.
gets thrown around at golf tournaments with old ladies. It's
Oh, wait.
it's weird.
So do you get access to the verified only Twitter app now?
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I got that. So there's that. Anyway, PCPer.com/live, PCPer.com/podcast is the URL you should go to if you want to find other episodes, find ways to subscribe to your RSS catcher or the video feed or just YouTube links there. It's all there. We really appreciate everybody supporting us and be prepared for a whole bunch of weird crap to happen as we try to get the new office ready. We're going to do,
gonna
I
be
was
a few
actually
weeks.
going to do one today where I'm just going to have Alan hold a iPhone and walk around the new place and like say, here's where we're at here, day one. Because we did that with this building.
We did,
remember?
yeah. That's
Like
true.
I remember actually I looked up the first video we did where
Like
we walked
November,
in.
probably.
They had painted already, but there was no carpet down and the ceiling was still all jacked up and stuff when we were talking about it. And that's where we got cool videos like the gluing the
I've got a camera.
switch to the
I've got a camera that
wood.
that does like, every however many second time lapse that we could just put in the corner of that big room and just leave there while we're doing stuff.
When we move in, we'll do that. We did that here as well.
Yeah.
Did we?
I could just put it there and
so.
we could forget
I don't know,
about it.
because
for
We at
we
least
days.
did that with this
When we moved
erecting
in
the
here, we
set.
didn't have very much stuff. I don't know. We'll talk about it after the end of the show.
Thank you.
Oh, you don't stream it. You capture it and then play it back
Yeah.
very fast. With
Yeah,
video
yeah,
in the
yeah.
background.
We just go to the exit because
What?
I'm about to explode.
Okay. Bye, everybody. See you next week. Bye.
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 I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Ryan Shroud.
Go pee, Josh.
I'm Jeremy Housen.
I'm Alan.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Good night.
If you enjoyed this content, consider supporting in-depth technical content by contributing at patreon.com/PCPer.